Good morning, Chancellor. I want to circle back to Cheyney University, in addition to a couple other schools. In November of last year, the Middle States Commission on Higher Education indicated that it would allow Cheyney University to keep its accreditation. And one of the key factors, of course, in that decision was Governor Wolf's pledge to make sure that Cheyney's $40 million debt to the other state system schools was eliminated. And I guess what I'm wondering, because I know there was questions about what was occurring there, and I don't think a lot of the schools at the time were particularly thrilled about that, but it somehow got worked out. Do you know how the governor plans to make the other 13 universities whole after forgiving Cheyney's debt?
Yes, so let me explain. So imagine the universities had not yet written down the debt. Right, so there was nothing to make whole except this was a paper debt that had Cheyney failed to repay, had the debt failed to have been repaid by Cheyney, a portion of that debt would have been allocated to each of the universities and drawn down from its reserves.
From their reserve.
Okay, so just to make that clear, so what the governor did was offered $45 million in DGS capital dollars to the university to the system in over 3 years, $15 million a year. Those dollars can be used in a way that will enable us to ensure that the universities, that we're not writing down the debt against
So is it $15 million over what we normally put in the capital budget?
It is correct. Our capital budget annually is about $70 million, and this will be $15 million over.
So it'll be about $85 million.
Correct.
That's how that was dealt with. Now let me kind of segue, because on background I've done auditing, and I will say that the pledge only eliminated Cheyney's debt, but the budget provides no additional funding for the university other than across the board. But let me just keep on going. Cheyney's latest audit, well, latest up to maybe not the most recent one, but I do want to kind of segue because I looked at the other schools too, but it shows it still has a net operating loss. Its position decreased, its cash and cash equivalents continued to decline, and I think the biggest thing, and being an auditor, it was a going concern opinion. That's like Houston, we have a problem. And that's a real problem.
Correct.
And I'm wondering what is being done to help right this ship permanently instead of temporarily bailing it out. And you kind of alluded to some of the partnerships, but I am worried about what happens if we don't get additional funding to Cheyney.
Yeah. So, and this is, I mean, I can speak about this generally as well as for Cheyney, the whole onus behind part of system redesign, which gets to sustainability planning, ensuring that all of our universities are financially sustainable within 5 years, and putting in place the accountabilities which make sure that that happens.
I do want to, and I just do want to follow up because that's a good point, because like I said, I reviewed some of the other financial statements, so I don't want to single out just Cheyney, because as we've said before, my colleagues, enrollment has dropped at 12 of the 14 universities or the schools over the last 8 years. And let's face it, statewide, I have an article here from KYW. There's different articles that were written about Cheyney. They receive a lot of attention, but the reality is, when you look at some of the other schools, they may not have going concern opinions, but oh my goodness, they're treading water. And I just want to know how some of these other schools, and like I said, it's more than just one. How are they going to deal with? How are they going to cope with this? Because I'll be up front. When I looked at a couple schools, and there was another one in particular, I immediately went to the opinion because I thought maybe that one might be a going concern also.
Yeah, no, they're serious issues. And these problems didn't just develop overnight, which is, again, why I think it's really important to be totally transparent about where we are. The sustainability planning process is a major step forward. The fact that we're doing budgeting now in an aligned way so no one can hide the ball. We know methodologically what we're looking at. We can, but more importantly, we did 3 things over the past year, which I want to call out. One of them is we work collaboratively with our collective bargaining units to develop mostly 4-year agreements, which are fiscally responsible as well as fair. That's a big deal. The second is we have introduced an enhanced sick leave payout for faculty, which encourages retirement. I'm pleased to say we hit our target just over the weekend or on Friday, so that will be moving forward and substantially help us in reducing our headcount and aligning our costs with our revenues. And having gone through going through the sustainability process, I have issued a directive to our presidents to do a number of things, to really execute against what it means to share, to be a system, to curtail the use of temporary faculty using permanent where possible across the system, to consolidate existing roles, even at the executive level, including across the system, to hire only essential positions, giving consideration in doing so to faculty and staff at other universities who might be at risk, and to eliminate or consolidate low-enrolled programs, including working across the system. So we're putting in place a number, to the question that came up earlier, of pretty aggressive means to address our challenges.
I'll just say that I have people back in my community that talk about consolidating schools in general locations, closing a couple. That comes up. I'm talking about people out in Lancaster County. People come to me and say, hey, we got an issue here. Is there a way to save costs? Look, it's a complex issue. There's a lot of people working on this. I want to thank you. But you and I talked about this, about the possible closing of schools. And, you know, I'm just saying to the rank and file people out there, they're thinking, boy, business would do it. So anyway, but thank you for your time. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.